Welcome into another episode of Locked On Phillies. In today's episode, we'll preview the Phillies' upcoming series with the Kansas City Royals. We'll talk about why this might be the easiest stretch of the season and what that means for our expectations over these next 7 or so games, if you count the Twins in there as well. And we'll talk about a bit of a bittersweet day for the 2008 Phillies as Cole Hamels has officially announced his retirement. All of that on today's episode of Locked On Phillies.
You are Locked On Phillies, your daily Philadelphia Phillies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, this is Locked On Phillies. I'm Connor Thomas, your host. Thanks so much for checking us out today. This is Locked On Phillies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Make sure you're rating, reviewing, subscribing to the YouTube, all that good stuff. You can hear me on NBC Sports Philadelphia on the TV, radio, 97.5 The Fanatic, all that good stuff. If you want to check out some of my other work, happy to be here for my second year as your host of Locked On Phillies. So thank you again for checking us out. Today's episode of Locked On Phillies is brought to you by eBay Motors. A championship team is about each player being a perfect fit. Same with your vehicle. So for parts that fit, head to eBay Motors and look for the green check. Stay in the game with eBay Guaranteed Fit. ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit. Only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. All right. Before we get into the episode, if you're watching on YouTube, yes, you see that I have the victory shirt on because the Philadelphia Phillies did indeed win yesterday. A great win for them. So got to rock the victory shirt on the days after they win. I've made that promise to you since the beginning of June. So we're over 2 months into, well, I guess about 2 months. June, July. Yeah, that's 2 months. 2 months into the victory shirt era, and the Philadelphia Phillies have been playing darn good baseball since. So that's a good thing. But I also need to comment on my appearance. If you're watching on the YouTube, you've noticed. But in case you're not watching on the YouTube, or if you haven't noticed and this is your first time chiming in, I don't normally look like this. No, I have a completely shaved head. All the way down, all the way around. Yes. My hair is completely short. It's because on the radio side, when I do morning sports talk radio, I work on the John Kincaid show. And John Kincaid is currently going through a battle with cancer. He's going through chemotherapy right now. And earlier this week, he had to shave his head because he was starting to lose his hair, something he hoped he wasn't going to have to go through this time if he took to the chemo better. But unfortunately, did have to shave his head again. And today, on the John Kincaid show, we decided that we, as his coworkers and his show mates and his friends, in support of him, we're going to also shave our head. So, yes, I am down to no hair whatsoever, but it is for a good cause. So please be kind to me in the comments. I know I might look like an alien or whatever, but yes, it's for a good cause. And best of luck to John, supporting him in his fight. Now, he's gotten good news the whole way through, as good a news as you could possibly get as you're going through a battle with cancer. So he's doing well, and everyone just keep him in your thoughts and prayers. But yes, we have to be with him in this time as his close friends and coworkers, see him every day. And hey, I couldn't be the only guy on that morning show with hair left. Everyone else is either balding or shaved their head today, and I wasn't going to be left out in supporting John. So that's why I have this new haircut. I'm sure I'm going to catch. I'm not going to say this every episode, right? I'm not going to run through this every episode. So I'm sure I'm going to catch people in the comments who are like, look at this idiot with the shaved head, this, that, and the other thing, making fun of it. I get it. That's fine. It doesn't bother me. I just wanted to explain why I didn't, so you didn't think I was like losing my mind over Trey Turner or anything like that. No, this is a perfectly conscious choice. So yes, that's the reason why. Now into the fun stuff. All right, let's jump into the Phillies and a preview of their series upcoming with the Kansas City Royals, because it's a very interesting one in that the expectations are so high and the Kansas City Royals are so bad. You can check out tonight's game. The Phillies will take on the Royals 7:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in Philadelphia. And you can listen to tonight's game on the Sirius XM app. Just go to the SXM app, search Phillies, and you'll be able to listen to every pitch of the Phillies hometown radio broadcast of that contest. The Royals are in town for 3 games. And, I mean, the Royals just frankly, guys, I don't know if you know this about them. They're not that good. They're 35-75. That is a winning percentage of .318 It is it the second worst in baseball? It is the second worst in baseball. Above only the Oakland Athletics 273 win percentage. Yeah, the Royals stink. And when you look at some of their numbers, you understand why. The Phillies, they don't stink. They're 59-50. They're currently in a wild card spot in the National League. They're a team that should be able to handle this. And just looking at tonight's matchup on the mound, I know it's Aaron Nola, right? But this is probably a good opportunity for a get-right start for Aaron Nola. But Nola takes the mound for the Phillies. And on the mound for the Kansas City Royals is Jordan Lyles. I mean, look at these numbers for Lyles. He's 2-12 win-loss record on the year. He's got a 6.15 ERA, a 1.29 WHIP, which isn't terrible. In 112.2 innings pitched, he's only struck out 80. He's walked 34. He's given up 22 home runs. I mean, Aaron Nola's given up 24, and we've almost run him out of town. Jordan Lyles has given up 22, and he's just another guy on the Royals pitching staff. The Royals they're not a good team. Tell me if you know any of these names. Garcia's leading off for them, playing third base. Now, Bobby Witt Jr., we know, he's playing shortstop, batting second. Playing shortstop, batting second, like I said. Massey's batting third, playing second. Salvador Perez is over at first base. You remember him for catching on the World Series team that they had, so you remember him. Olivares, Melendez, Furman, Waters, Isbell. If you know who these people are, you're kidding yourself. Like, they have a list of who's who of nobodies in Major League Baseball, and that doesn't mean you can't lose to them, but it means the Philadelphia Phillies, who are fighting for playoff contention and lost 2 of 3 in Pittsburgh against the Pirates and lost a game that they shouldn't have in Miami to the Marlins, even though they came out of that road trip with a positive record. This is where you make up for those games. You got to go to Philadelphia. You got to go to Citizens Bank Park, come home, and you got to beat the ever-living you-know-what out of the Kansas City Royals. There's no other option. If you lose one of these games, okay, because you got 4 games coming up against the Nationals after this, and we'll talk about that easy stretch in the next segment. But, yeah, a very winnable game tonight and a very winnable series against the Kansas City Royals. The Phillies are minus 250 on the money line. We have the Phillies lineup. Schwarber's going to DH and lead off. Alec Boehm's going to play third, bat second. Bryce Harper's going to play first, bat third in the lineup. Nick Castellanos clean up playing right. Bryce Stott at second base. J. Chiarmito catching. Brandon Marsh in left field. Trey Turner at shortstop. We'll talk about Trey Turner a little bit later. Yohan Rojas in center field. It's a little bit of a situation where you're way better than the other team, and you should be able to handle them. I mean, just looking at this series, the Phillies, according to ESPN Analytics, have a 74.2% chance to win tonight. Let's go to the next game in a pitching matchup between Christopher Sanchez and Alec Marsh, who is 0-5 on the year with a 6.75 ERA. The Phillies have a 70.3% chance to win. And then the next game after that, you have Taijuan Walker on the mound. The Phillies have a 70.7% chance to win. The Phillies are winning these games 7 out of 10 times, according to ESPN. You should be able to handle that. And if they lose a game to the Royals, you're not going to lose your mind. But if they sweep, it wouldn't be a surprise to me. And to me, I rarely say go into a series with the expectation sweep. I'm going into the series with an expectation of sweep. We can accept 2 out of 3, but I want 3 out of 3 against the Kansas City Royals, and the Philadelphia Phillies should too. They have a really good opportunity in this series to take care of business, and it'll help them out in the standings as they are currently in the wild card race. Let's just go ahead and plug over to this. I know the Braves are winning right now, so the Phillies will drop another half game back before they even play, but they're currently in the second wild card spot. They're a game up on Cincinnati, who's in the third wild card spot. Teams keep going back and forth all the time. Is it Arizona? Is it Miami? Chicago's only 2 games out of the final spot. Cincinnati's bouncing around. The Giants bouncing around. The Phillies bouncing around. The Phillies could really use 3 wins here, and then they play the Nationals for 4. I mean, take 6 out of those next 8, and you're in a really good spot. Take 7 of those next 8, and you might just be like 2-3 games up as the top wild card. I mean, a lot of stuff can go their way with a very easy stretch of the schedule, and a long way to go still, but take advantage of what you got going on here, and that can really help. So the Phillies, I mean, you got to like their chances tonight, even with Aaron Nola on the mound, and maybe this is a get-right game for Aaron Nola. Maybe this is the time where he needs to go out and just dominate a lineup that's not a major league lineup as far as the Kansas City Royals and what they trot out every day. Maybe that really helps him out. Maybe he comes out and disappoints us worse than he ever has. I don't know what that guy does, but he has the ability to have a good start. We still know that, even if it's not consistent. So hopefully he'll go ahead and do that tonight, and the Phillies can get off to a good start. Coming up, we're going to talk about a big night for somebody else and a big night for the fan base and what this home stretch means for the Philadelphia Phillies the rest of the way. We'll discuss as we continue Locked On Phillies. All right, let me tell you about my friends over at Sleeper, okay? We're going to talk about something that's happening with Trey Turner and the support the crowd is planning on showing him tonight at Citizens Bank Park. You think Trey Turner can hit a home run tonight against the Kansas City Royals? Well, we sure do. Me, Philadelphia, everybody. We believe in him. That's why he's going to get a standing ovation tonight. And on Sleeper, you can make some money off that. You could swing for the fences with up to 100 times payouts. All you have to do is choose 2 or more players that you like and select more or less on their stat categories like home runs, strikeouts, hits, and more. Get your picks right, and you could win big. Sleeper's absolutely awesome. It's a very simple app. The interface, anyone can figure it out. Like, even me, who I'm not that smart and I don't claim to be, I can easily set my Sleeper lineup and go ahead and put up to 8 picks in there. Just select the player, go select the prop, and select over or under and all that good stuff, and you'll be able to win up to 100 times your money. That's incredible. There's great wins on there. And Sleeper now has this new thing, dynamic payouts, which is great. Before it was just like, okay, 8 legs is this, 7 legs is this. If you pick 6 players, you win this much, depending on like those factors. But there's now dynamic payouts. So in short, what dynamic payouts are is each player projection now has a multiplier attached to it. So maybe because Trey Turner has stunk this year, if you want to pick him to hit a home run, you'll get like 3 times the amount of payout that you would normally get. And it's based on the number of legs in a contest. Or no, sorry, it's not. That's the preset based on the number of legs in a contest was how it used to be. Now with the dynamic payouts, you also have more stat categories and more opportunities to make more money on top of that. You can get higher payouts than other apps with less picks. Isn't that what you want, to make more money for less? That's great with Sleeper. So go ahead, check out Sleeper, download it, use it, and use promo code LOCKEDON. You'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 30 states. So check out Sleeper today. All right, let's talk about this Trey Turner thing and this easy stretch of the schedule. So this grassroots movement among the Philadelphia Phillies fan base has become a thing where people feel the need to support Trey Turner for all the struggles he's going through on the field and clearly taking it to heart. He said after game 3 in Miami, it was his fault they lost the game. And nobody really tried to debate him on that because I think it was. And a lot of people agree with him. And he's been having a rough year and all this stuff. I get it. So the fan base come together and they thought, well, Alec Boehm was having a tough time start of last season. And he got caught on camera saying he hates this place and then apologized for it post-game and said he just got worked up. And the fans gave him a standing ovation the next game. Now, there was a lot more clear reason, and it was a lot more spur of the moment. Like, no one said, we're going to plan to stand and cheer for Alec Boehm. Like, that was a magical moment last year that really helped mentally, I think, a young player. Trey Turner's not a young player, but he can use help mentally, and the Phillies fans are going back to the well. And people want to give him a standing ovation tonight at Citizens Bank Park to let him know we're behind him. And I love it. I don't have any issue with it whatsoever. Like, it doesn't hurt anything. Even if you think, oh, it's soft, you're being kind to a player who isn't playing well. That's not Philadelphia. Why does he deserve a standing ovation? He hasn't been playing well. In past years, we would have booed this guy and all that and other things. Yeah, I get that. And the thing is, you're not acknowledging Trey Turner for how he's played this year. You're telling him, in spite of how you played, because of your track record, we still believe that you're a good baseball player and can help us, and you chose our city in free agency, so we're going to show you that we have your back. Trust me. If Rodolfo Castro, who was just traded here from Pittsburgh, was struggling like this, he's not getting a standing ovation. I don't know. I mean, look at Aaron Nola. Aaron Nola is not getting a standing ovation by the Philadelphia Phillies fans because he's up and he's down and he's up and he's down and he's this, that, and the other thing. This is the beginning of a long relationship with Trey Turner, and it hasn't started off well for him, and he wants it to. And the fan base recognizes that, and they're doing what they can to try and spur him into producing, make him feel comfortable, make him feel like even though there's pressure on him, and we understand the pressure, and we're going to go right back to expecting great things from you as soon as we stop the standing ovation. We're here to support you, and we want you to play well. We're not rooting against Trey Turner just to root against Trey Turner. We're rooting for the Philadelphia Phillies and want Trey Turner to be a part of why they win. So I love the idea. I'm interested to see how it plays out tonight at Citizens Bank Park and how that goes. So we'll keep an eye on that, and I'll have an update for that on that for you in my next episode. But yes, that's something to keep an eye on tonight, and hopefully that'll help Trey Turner somehow mentally. But let's talk about the expectations for a very easy stretch of the schedule for the Philadelphia Phillies. I mean, I'm just looking at this, and right now we know you play the Kansas City Royals for 3 games. First game is at 7:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight. You can listen to every pitch of the Phillies' hometown radio broadcast of that game on the Sirius XM app. Just go to the SXM app and search Phillies, and you'll be able to pull that up there. But 3 games against the Royals, who are the second to worst team in baseball record-wise. And then you go and you play 4 games against the Washington Nationals. Now, the Nationals are 46-63. They're not the pushover that they have been in previous years. When you look at their winning percentage, I just want to look at this. They're 24.5 games back, but the Braves are really good. They have a 4.22 winning percentage, which is 1, 2, 3, 4. It would be the 5th worst in baseball. So they're not a good baseball team down there in Washington. But they're not a complete pushover, worst team in the league, anything like that. So 3 of 4 would be awesome. I think that'd be right to think of that as an opportunity to take 3 of 4. Now, it's 4 games, but no double header in there, I believe. Let me just double check. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Yeah, no double header in there. So you've got a really good opportunity to just play bad opponents for the next 7 games. After that, you get the Minnesota Twins, who are 56-54, a good team, but I think a little bit of that record is product of the AL Central and not being that good of a division. 3 games against them, they're beatable, but the real easy stretch is these next 7 games. In a wild card run where every game seems to matter, and as we're entering the final 2 months of the season, these games are paramount to take advantage. This might sound crazy, but you have 7 games. I think the bottom line expectation is 5 wins. And to me, I want them to win 6 of them. I want one of these to be a sweep. And I want one of them to be a series with 1 loss in it. And I think that's totally achievable. I was going to say reasonable, but I don't know if reasonable is the right word. But that's achievable for the Philadelphia Phillies. And maybe it's not a reasonable expectation. I think a reasonable expectation is closer to 5 out of 7 games you win. But this is where you kind of make hay. This could be the point of the season where you look back at the start of October and say, a big reason we got in and we're able to rest our pitchers in the final 3 games and set up our playoff rotation the way we want it is because we won 6 of 7 in that stretch against Kansas City and Washington. Like, that could really put you in the driver's seat when it comes to the National League wildcard race. And, hey, these other teams could keep winning, but, you've got a real opportunity. You're trying to chase down the Giants right now, right? Let's look at what the Giants' next couple games are. I want to go to the standings real quick here and just compare that to where the Philadelphia Phillies are as far as strength of opponents. The Giants have the Athletics for 2. They get the Angels, who are trying to push towards the playoffs. They get the Rangers, who are one of the better teams in baseball. They get the Rays after that. And then they get the Braves. The Giants are in a murderer's row. And then they play this team called the Philadelphia Phillies. And then they go play the Braves again. The Giants could be dead in the water by the end of this stretch. I really haven't looked at that to this point. That is troubling. Let's look at the Cincinnati Reds, who are currently in your 3rd wild card spot. They get the Nationals, but then they play the Marlins, who are a fringe playoff team. The Pirates, the Guardians. Okay, the Reds have a bit of an easy stretch. So the Reds could probably hang around. You need to keep pace with them. But they're not as strong of a team as you. The Giants are going to hit a bad stretch here. The Phillies have an opportunity to hit a good stretch here. That could totally flip the fortunes of those 2 teams, and that's something I'm looking into. So, yes, a big stretch for the Philadelphia Phillies coming up. Again, it starts tonight, 7:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Game 1 against the Kansas City Royals. You can listen to every pitch of the Phillies' hometown radio broadcast of that game on the Sirius XM app. Just go to the SXM app and search Phillies, and you can pull that all up there. But a huge stretch for the Phillies and one where they should be able to win a lot of games. Coming up as we wrap up, it's a bit of a sad day, I should say, for people around my age or Phillies fans in general who remember the 2008 championship team as Cole Hamels has announced his retirement. Just want to share a little bit about my thoughts about that, being a kid who grew up on that team, as we wrap up today's episode of Locked On Phillies. Yes, it's official. As of about an hour or so ago, Cole Hamels has decided that he is no longer going to be playing the game of baseball professionally. And that marks the final player of the 2008 World Series winning team to hang it up. Now, it's fitting that Cole Hamels, the World Series MVP of that team, is the final guy to announce his retirement. It's kind of funny how things work out in sports like that. It's just beautiful. Maybe poetic justice is what you call it. But it's the sports universe and the world in general just has a funny way of working things out that way. So well deserved that Cole Hamels gets a recognition as the last guy, but really it's just a timing thing. I mean, there were older players on that team. Cole Hamels was one of the younger players, but that team's officially now no longer playing baseball. Makes me feel old, man. I don't know about you out there listening, but that was my childhood favorite team. The 2008 Phillies, Utley and Rollins and Howard and Hamels, Lidge, Blanton, Madsen, Worth, Victorino, all of these guys that Chooch that made that team what they were and into world champions. None of them are playing baseball anymore. And it was a good run. We're in 2023. That's 10, 15 years later. So we had a good run of watching those guys play baseball even past that time. But it's just the ending of a true ending of an era. I know that team had been long gone here in Philadelphia, and we went through a bad stretch, and then we come back out on the other side with this new generation of Phillies players, and we hope that one day we're talking about the last player to retire from the 2023 World Series winning team. But it was just it was a moment that kind of stopped me in my tracks a little bit and said, wow, really is the last time we'll ever see anyone from that 2018 play professional baseball. And that's a sad moment, but it also makes you think about all the great times we had watching those players and watching that team and what was one of the great stretches in the history of the Philadelphia Phillies. So happy retirement to Cole Hamels. Sorry to everyone I just made feel old by going through that. But the end of an era, and I wanted to just give some love to that 2008 team and all of those great players who made it one of the most magical times as a baseball fan in my life. So, pour one out for the 2008 Phillies. Happy trails, as they say on Pardon the Interruption. And it's time to now go ahead and make new World Series champions in Philadelphia Phillies uniforms. And, hey, a great stretch for the Philadelphia Phillies to take a step towards that today. That's all for today's episode of Locked On Phillies. Thank you so much for checking us out. In spite of the new shaved head look, really appreciate you sticking with us. Even though the sun's probably glaring off my head right now, I got to get used to all this. I really appreciate it. Locked On Phillies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Make sure you're rating, reviewing, subscribe to the YouTube. Really appreciate everyone who's already done that and everyone who's going to do that. It takes us 2 seconds, costs you nothing, gives you notifications when new episodes are posted. So go ahead and jump in, all that. That's all for today's episode. And I'll talk to you next time on the next episode of Locked On Phillies.